Toby is coming up 13. He is diagnosed with autistic spectrum disorder slash Asperger's, if you want it correct. And we had him diagnosed about 3 or 4. It was nursery who first came to the conclusion that there was something a little bit wrong. So I went away and read up on it, and at that time, sort of nearly 10 years ago, there was not a lot of information around. You can't spontaneously do anything. A day trip has got to be planned like military manoeuvres, really, of what you take, where you go, what you say, and it's constant. And you can hear my voice now, I'm hoarse always by the end of the day, because it's sort of like mummy, mummy, and I have to say, right, we're going to be doing this, and then we're going here, and yeah. And the worst time, I think, which was my lowest point, was being asked to leave Tesco's, really, in Midsummer Norton, because we'd gone in, I had his baby sister in the trolley, and we went in, and he could go in any Tesco's in the Western world apart from ours. And he got to the door, and it was almost like cartoon comedy breaks went on, and then he just started screaming, and not just like ah, sort of like child in pain. It was just a constant ah, 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 and it got louder and louder and louder as we walked around the store, and it was quite obvious that the rest of the store was getting quieter and quieter and quieter listening to this child. And I had in my hand what I wanted to buy, and eventually I was approached by the manager, who fortunately was a very understanding female, who said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "I just want to buy this." And she said, "Just have it and go. Just have it and go." And I always say that's the day I wish I had 2 litres of vodka in each hand and sort of 400 Benson Hedges under my arms, and she would say, "Have it and go." But no. And that was the worst time, and I remember leaving the store sobbing, and came home and didn't go out for a good couple of years after that. Eventually he grew out of that once he changed from mainstream to a special school, when he went to Fossway School, and he knew instinctively that it was the right place for him. He'd done okay in mainstream school, but he couldn't cope with the other children in the class. He'd spend his days sat under a table. Playground, he'd have his coat over his head, it was too big, or running around the perimeter. And he had to come out of school separately, couldn't cope with coming out. So I had to go through to reception to pick him up, where he'd come out, throw his bag at me, spit in my face, because just the anxiety of the whole day was just too much. Always used to take that time, whereas now, as long as it's all narrated, I can say, you know, we're going here and you'll be doing this and this is what you'll see, and you show him a picture beforehand. He's much better. He's like, okay, if he doesn't want to go, he will go, which he never used to, but he'll spend the whole time making it miserable for everybody else. What time are we leaving? I didn't want to come here. Why did you make me come here? And you'll find his sister has no free thought of her own, because she knows if she chooses somewhere he doesn't want to go, it will just be miserable, and we should have gone somewhere that he wanted to go. And we've got a handful of places we call Toby's happy places, so we know that that's when, you know, that's going to be a good day if we go there. When he was 7 or 8, we saw a turning point, and again with changing schools, his whole attitude, I think he became much calmer and accepting of it then. And of course with him in school full time and his sister by that time, I had a little bit of a life back. So even now, I know from 3 o'clock onwards, I'm not really going out or doing anything. I can't say to the children, right, we need to pop here or go and visit so-and-so. That's like, no, school's finished, it's home now. And that's it. Katie absolutely loves him to pieces, and the problem Katie has is because she's almost like an only child, because Toby's very independent, does his own thing, and she has to find her own way. The attention she craves from Toby is kind of misplaced. She'll join in with his stuff, which doesn't do her any favours.
Once upon a time, there was a little girl called Katie Grady, and her big brother called Toby, who looked after Katie. Once, Katie had to go to bed because she was not well. Toby brought in some yummy things for her, and they went cloud hopping. "Wait for me," said Toby. "Let's see if we can get that butterfly." And me and Toby slid down the rainbow. Whee! We all went.
I notice when they go to a new play scheme that maybe he's not been to before, she'll say, "Oh, come on, I'll look after you, it's fine." And she'll take that role. And the sad fact is that as I get older, or if I'm not here anymore, it is Katie that is going to have to pick up the baton really and run with it. She absolutely adores him, whereas by rights she should be totally resentful. And I'd like him to have some sort of independent living. I'm not naive enough to think he will ever be able to live on his own. He's always going to have some kind of care, whether it's, you know, we move house, turn the garage into his own little annex, or whether he is in wardened accommodation. He will always need some kind of care. But if he can have virtually independent life on the back of that, then that would be fantastic. And somebody once said to me, and they're so right, if you have a disabled child, you have a disabled family, because it affects all of you. You'll never find a parent of particularly an autistic child, let alone any sort of disabled child, who is a wallflower, because they have always had to push and be out there. They cannot just stand in the background, because if they do, they know their child will just stand in the background with them, and that can't happen for children like ours.
Come up to